Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Matriarch Motivation Podcast. You may be finding this in podcast form on Spotify or video form on YouTube. My name is Julia. I own Pretty Aggressive Industries. I am a certified personal trainer, certified nutrition coach, and certified transformation specialist. I run a premium 3-month coaching program based on the pillars of resiliency to help people learn to thrive in this life because simply surviving is bullshit. I am the author of Beyond Damage, available on Amazon, with my second book in the works titled The Stick in Your Spokes. Both are aimed at teaching the tools of resiliency to thrive in this life after being raised in a dysfunctional or toxic environment. I created Matriarch Motivation for 2 reasons. First, to add to the choir of incredible and strong female voices who have or are already making their contribution by inspiring women to level up their minds, hearts, and lives, sharing stories and advice that encourage us to change the world and ourselves. Second, to offer a voice I felt was missing in this community, specifically one that is based in the beliefs that events and changes come from within us. The universe does not move our mountains. We do. We need to stop offering credit to the cosmos, calling ourselves lucky and blessed. We bring in what we put out. We earn what we work for. We have a very special episode today for International Women's Day because I'm not going to preach feminism. I'm going to introduce something that nowhere near enough people have heard about: NeoFeminism. Today, I'm not going to argue that women don't but should have equal rights. I've created this speech to remind women that we already have them. It is not a discussion. We have them. We were born with them. My rights, not just as a woman, but as a human being, supersede social, cultural, religious, and legal constructs. If you want to get nitty-gritty, go look at the United Nations outline of human rights. They have no gender attached to them. I've read it, and you should too. The definition of feminism is the advocacy of women's rights based on the idea of equality of the sexes. It's an ideology, a concept. And a feminist is someone who participates in or supports these concepts, either quietly in their daily life or through participation of social and political movements or activities. Neo-feminism is the state of mind where we no longer advocate for women to have equal rights, not because we've finally earned them or solidified them in our society and on our planet. It's because we just have them. We already possess them. This is not a discussion. Just because someone or some system isn't treating me with equal rights doesn't mean I don't have them. I'm not wasting time fighting for something I'm born with that can't be taken away. As a woman, you need to stop being so fucking angry at the perceived plight of your own gender. The more you fight, the more resistance you create, the more you contribute to the fire of the opposition. The more time we spend drawing attention to cherry-picked evidence that we're not being treated equally and fairly, or whining about the hardship our gender faces, the less time we are spending acknowledging the amount of power and privilege we do have, not to mention influence. Are there still countries and cultures where unsatisfactory brides are set ablaze? Yes. Are there religions that dictate what girls and women can wear and what they can learn or activities they can participate in? Yes. Are women brutally raped and murdered in war-torn areas as territory tactics? Yes. Not only is the social culture in these areas barbaric, but the legal system is far behind in both protecting women and bringing justice to the atrocities suffered by them. Please recognize that the men in these cultures have been raised with centuries of ignorance and fear of women carefully disguised as natural or divine superiority. They are raised from boyhood with expectations pressured on them to be controlling and dominant. Recognize that to dominate and control the female gender would be unnecessary if we were truly so fragile and unthreatening. Men created organized religions. Men created legal systems. and they designed them to cut their opposition in half and then conditioned us with inferiority complexes. Men suffer enough opposition amongst their own gender, and women add women into that, and they knew since the dawn of time they were fucked, and not in the way they hoped for. Now I'm going to openly admit that as a white middle-class Western woman, I have no place to be commenting or sharing opinions in regards to the struggles of women born into the previously mentioned circumstances and the lives they live. So I'm going to focus on the bullshit going on in the culture and time I have experience in. First, I want women to have a very clear understanding of the difference between their rights and how they are treated. We're going to make this a very quick point. How someone, anyone, is treating you does not change your rights. Your right to own property, to be paid equally for equal work, your right to an education, to health care, the right to partake in government, to your opinion and its expression, to not be subjected to torture or slavery, all of them, all 30. Then, in the instance of a man violating or disregarding your rights, you can seek legal punishment against that person. And actually, in our culture and society today, women can really fuck up a man's life if you choose to bend some truths and get vicious or cruel about it, even in small instances. So the real issue I see is not that we don't have equal rights. It's how women feel they are treated by or how men behave towards us. Even the way media projects these constructs on what is preferred or acceptable for our gender. Somewhere along the way, this idealistic fantasy of equal treatment of men and women has been created that is so grotesque, so warped and bastardized, it's laughable. There is a whole culture of women out there under the impression that each and every one of us should be treated more equal than we are, specifically by men and society at large. In my opinion, this has everything to do with boundaries. Let's have a real direct recap of what boundaries are. Boundaries are not, I repeat, not, our specifications on how others should treat us. Boundaries are what treatment we are willing to tolerate or participate in from others. In the great words of Tony Robbins, we don't get the things we want. We get what we tolerate from ourselves and from others. What I see too much of in our society is women participating in and tolerating behavior towards themselves that they don't enjoy or appreciate. Being angry, pissed off, disappointed, shocked, disgruntled, or weepy about it, then continuing to tolerate it, even if they are openly complaining about it. They want control of how someone else is behaving to avoid personal discomfort. That's funny. Sounds like what men did with religion and the justice system. We've gone beyond wanting laws that make life fair for women. We want people's opinions, attitudes, and personal outlook to make our lives easier. We want it to stop being difficult. We want to feel supported and respected, safe and protected, while doing things that are actually difficult for all genders. To compete in aggressive sports, or to go to a co-ed gym, or to go to a bar wearing teeny tiny pieces of clothing, or to feel pretty or feel smart, to move up the ranks in corporate, to make lots of money, or to get a loan from the bank for a small business. These aren't just uncomfortable for women. They are challenging for everyone, and for different reasons and in different ways for everyone. It's not about changing our culture to make it equally challenging or equally fair. That is literally impossible, because no matter what the rules are, people will break them. It's especially not okay for women to advocate for social changes that make it easier for our gender to do things in comparison to men. At this stage in Western culture, men are no longer standing in our way for us to do anything in our Western culture today. We have reached such an astonishing height of power and influence in our culture that the only thing stopping any woman from doing anything is her own mind. Next time you want to point a finger at a man for your feelings of inequality or victimhood, check the fucking mirror. Stop staying in or getting into relationship after relationship with men who control your friendships, convince you to quit your job to leave you financially powerless, insult your body while ogling other women, gaslight you and emotionally blackmail you or bully you into a lifestyle and life path choices that cause you unhappiness. Don't date them. Don't marry them and reproduce with them. Don't even answer their fucking text messages. Go have a relationship with a person who treats you the way you want to be treated. Reproduce with that person, then raise children with the same values. Stop choosing to work for a company, find out women are treated with inequality through their culture or policy, then complain and demand to be treated differently while choosing to continue to be an employee there. Vote with your actions. Stop working there. Publicly and politely let it be known how that company is treating women in the workplace, and go either work somewhere that has a culture in place which supports equality, or build your own fucking empire that loudly promotes ethical gender equality. Watch the company you left behind lose half its client base for being run by misogynistic assholes. Stop buying products from companies where you don't appreciate the marketing. Stop following celebrities that falsely portray an unobtainable standard that causes you to feel like shit. Stop reading magazines and content from sources that degrade and objectify women in ways you don't appreciate. Or keep buying, following, and reading those things, but realize that you can take what you want from it, make up your own damn mind about how you're going to live your life and feel about yourself, then leave the rest of the subliminal or inferred bullshit where you found it. You don't have to take the message with you. Just because a message is being projected doesn't mean you need to take it in or take it on. Stop showing up for treatment you don't appreciate. Stop being involved in processes and relationships and systems and situations that you think are wrong. Or show up in a different way. Nowhere in the 30 sections of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights does it say a person is entitled to respect. That is something that can be both earned and lost, and it is up to each and every individual to choose who they give it to, no matter the gender. And how you behave has a huge amount of influence on other people's desire to show you respect. What do I mean by showing up in a different way? It's leading by example. It's about leaving people no other option about how you're going to be treated except with deep positive regard. When a woman walks into a cafe or a construction site, into a pub or through the doors of Parliament, into a classroom full of male engineers or an MMA fighting ring, and you see people apologize for being in her way, ask if she's finding everything she needs, offers her something extra, taking her instructions seriously and cheering her on. What is the difference between her and you? This is Catherine the Great. This is Cleopatra. This is Queen Elizabeth, the first and the second. This is Malala Yousafzai. This is Margaret Thatcher. This is Edith Giroud. This is Simone de Beauvoir. This is Kamala Harris, Oprah, Madonna, Ellen DeGeneres. Women who, instead of complaining, instead of demanding, instead of insisting on equal treatment or even just better than what they were getting, they just showed up and started doing what the fuck they felt like doing, regardless of how people were going to treat them, especially regardless of how men were going to treat them. And don't you dare fall back on sex appeal, because let me tell you something, it's fucking true. It is controversial and refuted and women's best and worst kept secret. If you think being sexy or having sex appeal is an unfair advantage that some women have and flaunt, you are 100% correct. Where you are cutting yourself short is if you believe that some women have it and some women don't, or some women cannot have it, because that's not true. I've seen a woman at 5'7", 200 pounds with a stunning smile on her face, a well-executed outfit, and a personality that would blow Lady Gaga out of the fucking water, work a room, talk to any guy she wanted, and score at the end of the night. I've also seen fitness models with the genetics of a goddess be laughed at and sneered at for such shit personalities that no one enjoys spending more than a few minutes talking to them, let alone helping them get a leg up. Any woman that can become a novice in flirtatious conversational skill, spark half a notch of desire, and execute a few moments of genuine interest in a man will never need to learn to be a pickpocket. You can leave with a man's watch, wallet, car, and pants while making him feel like you just did him a favor. No matter where your looks or personality have started, you have access to a skill set that can be weaponized in a heartbeat, which men have little, if any, defense against. We have started wars between kingdoms over the centuries, and currently still create wars between companies wanting each and every one of us women to be in their devoted clutches. The culture around treating women with inequality isn't from the belief that we are less. It is derived from men's insecure and obsessive desire to have us. Women in Western culture today have more power than ever before, and in many circumstances, more power and influence than men. Don't you dare spend one more second living in a victimhood mentality. Whether you feel attacked by social constructs or your husband or some dude catcalling you, before you cry wolf, take a look at your own teeth and claws. You are not as helpless as you've been led to believe. That's been another episode of Matriarch Motivation. We will see you next time.